Yeah, I definitely feel overwhelmed a lot of the time. It When you think of everything that there is to learn and everything that you want to learn, it can seem unending. So a problem that I typically have is that I want to do a little bit of everything. And you can probably see this by the fact that I know how to model and render and rig and do all of these things at least a little bit, is I like to learn a lot of different things. And because of that, like, I want to learn how to draw. I want to learn how to animate in 2D, but I also want to animate in CG. But I also want to render, and I want to light, and I want to learn Blender someday because Blender is really cool. And I want to do all of these things. Not only that, I want to do a short film, and I want to learn how to write and actually write a script and things like that. And there's so much stuff, and I have zero time for any of it. If anyone knows my work schedule, zero time. So, how do you avoid feeling overwhelmed? Especially, like, without even going into all of these different aspects. You're just learning animation, maybe. And you have to learn the 12 principles of animation. You have to learn appeal. You have to learn posing. You have to learn planning. You have to learn thumbnailing. You have to do all of these things. And then there's acting and pantomime and all. There's so much stuff. So, how do you stop feeling overwhelmed? Well, first off, it's okay to feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you shouldn't feel overwhelmed or that is bad that you're overwhelmed. Instead, let that kind of happen, feel it, and then accept that, yeah, you're going to have to learn a lot of things, but you don't have to learn it all at once. That's not the goal here. You do not have to cram everything into your brain all in one single go. Instead, focus on what do you need to do next. And easier said than done, but depending on where you are, there's a lot of things that you could do. But what is the thing that's going to help you most in the moment? So, for example, if you're just starting out animation, you could be learning rendering and all of this stuff. You could be learning how to do acting and all of that stuff. But really, that's not going to help you in the moment. The best thing to do when you're first learning animation is focus on the principles. Really understand those. And focus on potentially doing master studies, because that's going to help you understand why we're using these principles. Master studies and that kind of stuff is stuff I would recommend doing regardless of where you are in your animation journey. It's just a really good learning tool. But as you're going through, by kind of streamlining what you want to focus on, what you want to improve upon in the moment, that can really help just reduce that overwhelming feeling. It's not going to make it go away, but part of it is just realizing that we're not going to learn everything. Where it's an art field, it's like any artist. You're not going to be able to learn every way of drawing. You're not going to be able to do every animation ever. It's not going to happen. So we have to choose. What do we want to do? What are we really passionate about? And kind of go with that. Again, easier said than done. Let's see. What other ways to help avoid getting overwhelmed? The other thing that I usually do, like especially because I like to learn a lot of different things, is what can I expand upon in the moment that will help me learn, or how to phrase this. What can I learn along with what I'm currently learning that will work together and kind of help me improve even more? So, for example, I could learn how to do rendering, which is great for a final product, but as an animator, very rarely do we ever actually need to do rendering unless we're doing a short film or a YouTube series. If your goal is to work at DreamWorks or Disney or Pixar or a game studio or wherever you want to work, rendering is the last thing that you should ever really focus on, because it's not going to help you in the long run. But drawing, even though we're CG animators, learning to draw, even if it's very basic, can help you animate faster, improve your ability to tell stories and to plan things out quicker. It can just make things way easier for you. Not only that, it makes it easier if you're giving feedback to people, which is always a good thing to do. So by being able to draw a little bit better, you can draw over people's work. You can express yourself more by learning how to draw very basic facial expressions. You could even draw over your own shot. This is something I'll do in my own shots. If I'm not getting a facial expression just right, I'll just use the grease pencil tool or bring in the Sync Sketch and draw over top of the face and try to get an expression that reads a little bit more clearly versus fighting all of these controls hoping for the best. So by picking these things that will help you directly in the main thing you want to learn, it kind of helps, it allows you to still keep learning all of these things, but without pulling you in all of these different directions, which makes it just harder to keep moving forward, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. I hope that helps a little bit. The big thing is it will be overwhelming. Do not feel bad about being overwhelmed. That's normal. Honestly, I don't know of any animator that hasn't felt overwhelmed at some point or another, just as a career. The biggest thing is as long as we don't let it stop us, we need to keep going with it and kind of focus on the area that you want to, that you're passionate about. Follow your passion. I'm glad it helped. And if anyone else has questions on that, definitely let me know. Chris, so exactly here. So not an argument, but a perspective. I enjoy lighting and rendering, not because it directly helps my animation or employability, but because it's something I can apply to the animations I have done and shared with friends on social media who don't understand why playblasts look like playblasts. Yeah, you get a lot of that from family and friends who don't understand animation. I consider all the things that make me feel proud and excited to animate as part of my strategy for staying motivated and growing. So yeah, like that I would say is exactly what I was saying. So I would totally agree with you there. Is lighting and rendering is one of those things that if you are trying to apply it as, okay, this is going to make me a better animator. No, it's not. It's not going to get you hired, because maybe like in rare cases, but in the vast majority, it's not going to get you hired because recruiters don't care about that. They are looking at an animation standpoint. So if you want to improve your animation at its core, the best, those two things are not going to help. But if you want to do, like I was saying earlier, a YouTube series, if your goal is not to get hired by a big studio, but you want to create a story, your own story, and you want to put it on YouTube, or in this case, you want to share your animation and make it look awesome for your friends and your family, or just anyone who looks at it, and you just want to make it even prettier, yeah, definitely learn lighting and rendering. Be passionate about it. Again, follow that passion. If you want to do it because of the joy that it brings you, don't let that anything stop you. Follow that joy. But if you're thinking of the big list of, okay, I want to get hired at Pixar, here is the long list of things that I need to learn in order to get done. Those are at the very bottom. So yeah, I would totally agree with you there. Definitely, like, especially if it's helping you to stay proud, excited, and motivated, do it. Same thing like rigging. Rigging as animators isn't going to help us that much. It's going to be super useful. Definitely a little bit more useful than lighting and rendering in most cases, because then we can make different props and different things. We can adjust our rigs a little bit more, but not going to be the most useful thing you can do. But if you're passionate about it, if you love the technical aspect of creating a rig and doing that, do it. Follow that passion. It really comes down to understanding what is going to help you in the current goal you have, whether it's a job, a passion, just a joy of doing whatever thing it is.